Welcome everyone to our Tagmarshal expert session, how the Country Club at Castle Pines uses technology to automate processes, saving time and creating exceptional player experiences. My name is Cade Hassel, the CEO of Tagmarshal, and I'm extremely excited to have a repeat guest with us, Cade Hassel, who's the PGA Head Golf Pro at the Country Club at Castle Pines up in beautiful Colorado. Cade, how are you this morning?
Doing excellent. Thanks for having us.
100%, thank you. And also have one of my colleagues who is celebrating his first year anniversary with Tagmarshal today, Jack Green from our customer success team. Jack is at our Atlanta office. How are you today, Jack?
Doing well. I'm a little warmer than Cade, I'm sure, but things are awesome in the Atlanta.
Nice. And I know you have some of the Tagmarshal team very excited for you that you get to share some of your experience in coaching and training and helping our customers excel in today's session. But the star of the show obviously is the Country Club at Castle Pines and Cade. Cade, won't you do us a favor and give us an introduction to your beautiful facility? We're looking at the new and improved clubhouse, and also yourself and how you got to be in the position that you're at now.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as mentioned, I'm Cade Hassel, the head golf professional here. Came out here to Colorado back in 2017 after spending a couple of years as an assistant golf pro in Omaha Country Club, where it's very close to where I grew up. So I had a great opportunity there, but fell in love with Colorado in 2014, working at Columbine, and looked for every opportunity to get out here, and happened to land here at the Country Club at Castle Pines. Came on as an assistant after 2 years, moved into the first assistant role, and then as of July 2020, have taken over as the head golf pro. So just about 7 years total here at the club come February. We've gone through all kinds of changes. Back in 2019, we passed a $18 million capital improvement project, which included the addition of a pool, a fitness facility, tennis courts, and then basically a complete clubhouse upgrade renovation, a small expansion, but just all kinds of new amenities for the membership. We've been the Country Club at Castle Pines since opening back in 1986, but have been everything but really, a true country club. It's been a pure golf club. All we've had is the golf course, and prior to the renovation, we did a little addition where we added a 1 acre putting green off the back of the clubhouse called the Crags, and that's been an awesome social hit. But we've gone through all kinds of changes. We've got a thriving membership now, and everything is going great. We're situated just outside of Denver, and a lot of people have started to leave the city to head to the suburbs and gated communities and areas like that around town. So we've really reaped the benefit, and it's been a great 7 years at the club.
Nice. I remember when we first started working with you, the biggest person I've ever met in the industry was the manager, Andrew Hedwig. He's still obviously in golf, working at another facility. But it's been great to see also your personal progression through the club as an assistant to where you are now, and well done to you. And we're obviously digging into the data at the Country Club at Castle Pines, and what you guys have been able to achieve is phenomenal. Jack, I know that you obviously are training and coaching and helping our customers, and you got to go to Colorado, and I would wager that's probably your second or third favorite state now.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there. In Georgia, we see a lot of trees, but getting out to the Midwest and Colorado specifically, there's mountains everywhere. So you can't find a golf course without a good view, and Castle Pines is no exception to that.
Wonderful. And you have your very own NBA champs as well. So everyone's paying attention now, which is great.
That's right.
Over and above the amazing clubhouse that you built, there's also a lot of effort that went into your training facility, and I believe you and your teaching pro were quite involved in the design. Tell us a bit about that and the thought that's gone into it.
Oh yeah, sure. So we've got a new short game facility. With a lot of the changes that were taking place for the project, certain areas had to move. So we've basically completely renovated our short game area now. We kind of moved a smaller one and coupled it with another small one that was sitting on the north side of the driving range, and it's fantastic now. We've got 2 chipping greens, we've got 5 bunkers surrounding them. Around those short game greens, you've got every cut of grass, every different type of lie that you could get, uphill, downhill, below your feet, above your feet, you name it. Every lie. So there isn't really a shot on the course that you can't recreate around those short game greens. And then, you know, in addition to that, we installed a wedge tee with target greens from 50 to 100 yards, set right off to the side of that wedge tee is a bunker. So you can work on those mid-range sand shots that we all dread, the hardest shot in golf. So, you know, as we were putting this all together, myself and our teaching pro, Tara Morris, spent a lot of time with the director of agronomy, you know, discussing this and making sure that we did have every shot available. And one kind of unique thing with that wedge tee that we built, it's not a flat hitting surface like your traditional range deck is. We realize here at our elevation and kind of the topography that we're dealing with, we've got undulation everywhere, never really hit a flat shot on the course. Outside of maybe the tee, outside of the teeing grounds, there isn't a flat shot on the course. So we wanted to make sure that we could recreate all those different shots. So that's a lot of what went into the short game greens, and then specifically that wedge tee and in the discussions with him. So it was really cool to be part of the whole process. And, you know, he appreciated our feedback as, you know, as much as anything. So that was a really cool experience to work with him on that.
Yeah, it sounds like an amazing project to be involved in and also see it through, right from the paper planning stages to people now using it daily. I'm sure. I hope your players appreciate what
they love it. It's great. It's great for teaching too.
Nice. Okay. Brilliant. And that's just one of the things that you have obviously done to ensure that you're providing a world-class player experience. And Colorado is a very golf-rich area, so there's abundant competition. How long is your waiting list these days? If I wanted to join the country club at Castle Pines.
Yep. So we're currently sitting right at about 45 members on the wait list to get in. So that's if you're familiar with our club, back before we passed this project, you know, the trend that golf was going in really wasn't helping us. We were having a hard time attracting families, getting, you know, young members in here. So, you know, the addition of all the facilities has really completely changed the entire club. And now, yeah, 45 members on a wait list. You're looking at 3 to 4 years to get in. We move through 12 to 15, maybe 10 to 12 members a year. Kind of just depends on what's happening. But no, it's a healthy wait list. They've got social privileges, so they're still using the club. And no, we're in a really good place right now.
Okay. Yeah, look, that is what we're seeing elsewhere. But I have to say that your wait list timeline is on the top end of what I've heard. But good for the game, right? That there's so much demand on it, and so many people interested in joining, and it speaks a lot for the culture that you've created and the experience that that members get to have. And on the experience note, we're going to jump into that right now, but we obviously at Tagmarshal, we're very blessed to work with what is now 500 facilities. I think the time that we started out with the country club at Castle Pines, this list was probably 200, so we have grown tremendously. We work with some of the very best, both in the private club space, but also a daily fee resort. We're really covering the whole segment. Very excited that next season we have 2 major hosts in Valhalla that have been working with us also for a number of years, and Pinehurst hosting US Open. And what's great for us is that we get to work with some of the very best progressive and outstanding managers. Cade is one of them. And we take their feedback on board as best we can, and then build it back into our system and our reporting and the data that we utilize, just so we can share some of the best practices and also benchmark and just provide as much value as we can. And the ultimate hallmark, I guess, of success for us is if we have a partner like Cade saying, well, I'll give you a bit of time and share with everyone what we've been doing and how things have worked out. And yes, we were very grateful that you've taken the time today and giving us a bit of insight. The first thing I want to ask both of you, and let me start with Jack, because he's been very patient. You obviously golf a lot, and you golf a lot with family as well, and yeah, it's something that you enjoy. But what would you say, just from a golfer point of view, are the top experience factors? If you're looking at this list down on the right, in no particular order, which are the top three that you want to see done right when it comes to your playing?
Yeah, so from a player's perspective, family, we're a member at a private club down here in Atlanta, but you know, a lot of my friends, college friends, they're not members at clubs, so we go and play at a lot of public courses. And one thing that always sticks out to me is the course conditioning. You know, if there's tons of greens that have a lot of crabgrass, making it tough to line up your putts, that could be a deterrent for, you know, repeat play. So course conditioning is definitely up there. I would also have to say pace and flow of play. There's like a short course, 18-hole course near where I live, and it used to take about 2.5 hours to play. And with the COVID boom of players, now it's about 4 hours, which is you know, close to what the private club we play at would consider their pace of play. So that's been a deterrent to, you know, return back to the course. So play and flow, pace of play and flow are big. And then clubhouse and amenities. You know, go into a public course, you know, you're really trying to drive a you know, repeat play. And I go and play at the courses that always have a welcoming staff and a clubhouse that is you know, looks up to what you would expect from a pro shop, as well as having, you know, different amenities, extra golf balls, tees if we need some, and you know, scorecards if there's, you know, rain and the scorecards can get destroyed. So clubhouse and amenities, I would also say is in my top three.
Nice, thanks, Jack. And Cade, from your perspective, obviously, yeah, you do get to play a bit of golf as well, but your main job is to make sure that the experience is right. What are the three things that you would put that you do put your effort into to ensure that that you do it right by the golfers from an experience point of view?
Yeah, sure. You know, I really, you know, I don't think you can discount any of these, right? I think to be an exceptional facility, you've got to be pretty proficient and excellent in every one of them. You know, I completely agree with Jack from the consumer's perspective. You know, from my perspective and the feedback I receive, you know, course conditioning, obviously, huge. I agree with them completely on that. We're really fortunate here. We've got a fantastic course maintenance team. They really don't put a whole lot of pressure on me as far as that's concerned. So I really don't have to worry about that one nearly as much, but pace of play is our biggest driver here. Every experience on the golf course impacts the rest of the day and the rest of the use of the club. So we want to make sure that they play fast out there, they enjoy their experience, and the quicker they play, the more time that they have to come into the clubhouse to spend money, to drive extra revenue. The happier they are, the more the time that they want to spend at the club. If we're getting into a habit of slow rounds every Friday, we're going to have people that stop coming out to play on Fridays, and that's going to impact everything else. So we really, that's our pressure point here. The members are very good at it. They do play fast, but sure, there definitely are times, and, you know, what can we do to speed things up? So, you know, that's a huge one. And then, you know, another big one for us is that we're trying to, you know, figure out that balance, right? Is kind of a combination of the last 2 points of 6 and 7, the accessibility, but also coupled with the cost and the value. So, you know, you've got to have, you know, your dues and your capital prices and everything that you're charging the members on a yearly basis. It's got to line up with the accessibility to the course. They pay a lot of money to be here. So we've got to, you know, kind of walk a fine line where, you know, how many members can we have? How much are they using the course? And then how much accessibility do the members have? So I really kind of couple 6 and 7 as a very important one, just with what I'm kind of dealing with now. And, you know, as we're trying to align ourselves with all these new amenities that we have with other, you know, top private clubs in the area, and, you know, what's our balance there, and making sure that the golf course is always accessible for the membership.
Yeah, no, great points raised there, Cade. And just to underpin what you're raising here with a bit of research that was shared by on the left here, the USGA and the NGCOA. They did an industry pulse about a year ago. And they're asking operators and course owners, that's obviously the Golf Course Owners Association's a group of people that they represent, what are the key challenges the industry has, and they found that labor challenges are top industry priority from a challenges point of view. But the other set of questions was, what are the key player experience factors that you're paying attention to or want to pay attention to as operators? And what they've what the response was the conditioning of the golf course. 95% of operators said that's a key experience factor. No surprises, right? Welcoming attitude towards women at 85%, and there's 1 percentage point off that pace of play. So these are top 3 priorities that the operators are saying they want to pay attention to. Then number 4, physical beauty and aesthetics of the golf course. That's design and conditioning related. And the next one is cost and value. And to your point, Cade, if the conditioning is great and the pace is great, and there's a good culture, good service culture, that's probably what value looks like, right? But talking to the second point, a welcoming attitude towards women, I think golf can never do enough work here. What is the country club at Castle Pines doing with regards to promoting the ladies' game?
We've got a booming women's program here. This is the 6th club that I've worked at, and really have never seen anything quite like it. So, we've got 400 memberships here, and that would include a primary and a spouse, so a husband and a wife in that situation. And of those 400 women members, we have about 300 active that will play at least around a year. So big group there. And then, of those 300, we have 200 that actively participate in our 18-hole women's league and our 9-hole women's league. So we have 2 different days of women's play. We have Tuesday mornings and Thursday mornings dedicated to the ladies. And, as mentioned, each association. So, they may not be playing weekly, but they are participating in the organized play that we are offering for them. And there's, about 100 ladies in each and 200 total that are actively playing, and, another 100 that are using the course, at given times as well. So super active, but, Bodo, I think I've talked to you about this. They are very likely our fastest playing group out here at the club. So we love what they're doing. So we fully support it. We want to keep it growing, and it continues to grow year after year with the younger membership that we're bringing in.
Yeah, I think I have seen this trend according to data come through quite a few of the clubs that we work with. And one of the theories is that, well, women are generally more accurate players, right? And they're maybe less aggressive, right? So they might play smarter shots and just get through the course in a better, smarter way. Very happy to take this on. We'll look into the data a little bit more later, and I know Jack, you and the customer success team do regular analysis, so there's some nice trends that we can see here that supports Cade's experience one, but obviously Cade digs into the data too. Just to close off here, so on the left we have the operator's perspective, on the right is the player's perspective, and here course conditioning at 84% or 82% of players saying that's critical to my experience, is top rated. Who's in my playing group is number 2, and then pace and flow of play number 3. So on both sides, operators and player sides, pace of play is coming top 3. So it does, like, if we want to be golfer led and if we want to do the right thing for the golfers, it really does pay to pay attention to this. And at the country club at Castle Pines, you obviously use technology to create exceptional player experiences, knowing that the pace and flow of play is such a key aspect to it. Here's what Tagmarshal's technology set looks like. And Jack, I know that you explained this really nicely to many of our partners that you're onboarding. Give us a 2-minute rundown, and then we're going to ask Cade how he does things at Castle Pines and who he's got dialed into it.
Yeah, so Tagmarshal, we have hardware that we use to track walkers as well as carts. What you can see on the far left under 1, we have our mobile walking tag. That's going to be that black box. These traditionally go into one of our pouches and then clipped onto a player's bag or located in the caddy's bib. The phone is what we call our two-way handheld device. So it might be easier to explain what our two-way screen would be. So on the number 2, that screen is our flagship 8-inch two-way device. Two-way meaning that we can send a message to the player directly from the pro shop, but the players could also message the pro shop as well directly from the device, as well as ordering food and beverage should they need to. With these devices, though, we track the rounds as they maneuver through the course. Various different spots throughout the course take different times, so we have our algorithm built in to be self-sufficient in anticipating bottlenecks before they happen. So the data is transmitted in our cloud at number 3, and then it's spat out onto our devices in our analytics hub. And you can actually access this on any smart device or a device with internet. So you can pull this from your phone or a iPad, like we have imaged below. But it's very user-friendly, and you have access to all things Tagmarshal. So whatever we're tracking, whether it's pulling data from a T-sheet integration, accessing player profiles, should you have repeat players, and being able to dive into that data more specifically through the rounds that we track historically.
Thanks, Jack. So the live map, which we're going to look at just now, you can think of as a Waze or Google Maps of what happens after a golf course. But I recently had a conversation with a manager from a club outside Baltimore, and he said he went overseas on a break in Germany, and he managed his golf course from a different continent, just looking at Tagmarshal, looking at the live rounds, and he came down on his guys when he realized there were a few groups out of position and they didn't pay attention. It's like, but we thought you were on holiday. So it's like, that is phenomenal. One of the best stories. Cade, from your side, yeah, you might be able to see here on the right, you can see that the Country Club of Castle Pines really wraps around the mountain top. And it's not the easiest terrain to manage. Yeah, tell us a little bit. Firstly, who have you got dialed into the system? And then also, what is it that we're looking at here? Because obviously we're assuming that a lot of the people that are on our webinar today are not familiar with the color logic and what we're actually showing.
Yeah, sure. So as far as my team's concerned and who's dialed in, just about all my full-time staff. So I've got 4 full-time assistants that work for me. They are, outside of me, probably the most frequent users. They know how to do everything on there. They're constantly on it. We have a tab pulled up on the main computer, and I think on every assistant's computer at all times. So we're constantly monitoring it. In addition to that, our merchandise buyer is very familiar with it as well. So, if we're not available, she's very in tune with how it works, to do kind of the same things we are, to do messaging or to check, and then kind of keep us in the loop on what's going on if we're, out of the shop for a few minutes and on the driving range and really not, on our phones, or, that's not accessible to us. She can touch base with us anytime as she's monitoring it. And then, in addition to them, I've got 2 outside service managers and an assistant outside service manager, and they use it constantly, especially, end of the night when they're trying to track down carts and figure out where they've got to go. Do they need to, do they have time to get to the practice facility to start breaking it down before the next cart comes in, et cetera, et cetera. So they're constantly tracking, and it, really helps them. And then to talk about the terrain here, it's, we tee off here at 6,700 feet on top of the clubhouse, and then we don't have another hole that comes back to the clubhouse for all 18. So we head down the cliff, we drop about 400 feet in elevation, and we're basically wrapped around a cliff here. So for us to get from the clubhouse down to, say, hole 5 or even out to hole 14 or 15, it's a, without too much play interruption and trying to, be mindful of the golfers on the course, it's 15 to 20 plus minutes, kind of depending what's going on the course that day to get out there. And for us to be able to pinpoint exactly where these slow groups are and be able to go straight to them, it saves us a significant amount of time where, you know, without this map previously, we'd have to constantly be looping the golf course just to keep everything in check. We had no idea what's happening out there. So, you know, we could be out on hole 15, everything's going great. Little do we know there's a problem on hole 4. Well, by the time that we get to that group that's the problem, it's probably taken us a half hour or more. And, you know, the slow pace that they've been on may have slowed down more, and we may be past the point of really being able to reconcile the situation. So being able to have this in our hands at all times is amazing. And then, you know, being able to identify very clearly, you know, what's going on. So when we see those purple groups, we know that purple means, all right, they're slow and they're holding up the groups behind them. So they are our issue. When we see the groups that are orange, they're waiting on somebody. So, you know, it's important for us that we touch base with those groups to let them know that we're, you know, handling the situation. They can see all this on their tablet screen too. So they're aware that they're waiting on the group ahead of them. And then we follow up, we, you know, confirm, hey, working on the situation, everything's good. And then green, obviously, you know, that's kind of our running joke here as we talk about Skittle colors when we're in the shop. And anytime we've got all green Skittles, maybe it's not our favorite flavor, but we love that. So that's kind of the jokes we run around in here. But green Skittles are great, and multicolored Skittles, we got issues. But it's amazing. It's so easy to understand, and it really, you know, our time efficiency is significantly better than it ever was.
The Skittles are a nice one. Maybe Jack will send out some Skittles with every new installation that we
Sure.
do. That's amazing.
Definitely keep that in the back of my mind. That's a good one.
We can see the player names here in the sidebar, and then also the pace train hole by hole. I know that you obviously have a good handle now on who are the usual suspects here, but is that something that you check in? Like, it's not just a number out, it's not just a card number, but you actually want to see who the players are?
Absolutely. And, you know, there's a lot of times too where we'll see that, you know, that purple dot light up, and, you know, maybe they're 5 or 6 minutes behind pace, and I'll click on the group, and, you know, I've got a very good understanding of being here 7 years, who plays fast and what's going on. And, you know, are they playing a match play? What's happening? And, you know, a lot of times we'll see these groups 5 or 6 minutes behind and see certain players and know, hey, that they're not going to be an issue. Give them one hole. Let's just watch them. They'll catch back up. So, yeah, you know, we really don't have to worry about them. And then, you know, the latter, you might click on a group that's 5 or 6 minutes behind and say, I better get down there right now, because this could turn into 10 or 15 minutes behind in a hurry. So definitely we click on it. We see who it is, what's going on. You know, did they just have one really bad hole and the rest have been good? So maybe, you know, that was just a one-off instance. I mean, all that information is, you know, important. And when we're trying to, you know, decide, do we send a message? Do we get out there? What's our next steps?
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll look into the message options. Obviously, with you having the two-way screens, you can message out to players. We'll look into that just now. But one of the things that's also important is that we always encourage, if you do go and manage players out there, that you actually leave a note saying, well, I've spoken to these guys, or I've encouraged them to pick up the pace, and leaving a note at the point where you've actually done that, because that filters back into the history of the round, and you can never have enough information. But before we jump onto the next slide, I know that you're using 4 Ts, and we've got a number of integrations. Jack, if I can ask you just to briefly summarize what some of the benefits are of these integrations and how courses make use of that.
Absolutely. So what we mean by integration is our development team works with the teams with your tee sheet providers. And every night at midnight, the tee sheet will populate on the Tagmarshal system on your tee times page. And if there's any new additions, cancellations, adjusted tee times, those populate and refresh onto the system within 5 minutes. So when we have these integrations, we can track, like you can see on the far right side, we have Steve, Chris, and Frank. This round will go into their player profile. So when they finish their 18th hole, The data will then populate into their player profile. And as they continue to play through the course, as long as you're with Tagmarshal, we'll have every single round. So you could go back with Cade, you know, if he has members all the way from 2020, he can see every single round and filter through the years and see how has their pace of play improved or changed. Another angle with that would be, say, Steven, Chris, and Frank. They're consistently delayers. Well, we can go through their player profiles and pick up trends. You know, when they're a delayer, you know, when Steve, Chris, and Frank get together, 4 out of 5 rounds, they're a delayer. But if we swap Frank with Joseph, all of a sudden they're on pace. So maybe Frank is the person we need to have a conversation with. So being able to identify those trends as well is crucial.
Mr. Green is the green skittle in this group, so he's the guy who's keeping them on pace. Let's jump ahead. Thanks, Jack. Just on the front end side, because obviously we have the screen and the carts, and we've really looked long and hard to find the brightest possible screen because we know it's an outdoor environment and these have been stress tested in agriculture and what have you. So we're really excited that we found such a good solution. How is that working for your players in terms of the benefit that they get, and what's the feedback that you're getting? And also from a self-management point of view with regards to pace. Tell us a bit about the player experience side of things as far as the front end is concerned.
Yeah, so so when we started back with Tagmarshal, we had a much older GPS unit. It wasn't interactive. It kind of set off to the left side of the cart. It was great, to have the front, middle, back pin locations, but outside of that, it was pretty limited in what it did. It wasn't nearly as clear when you were behind pace, ahead of pace, being the delayer, et cetera, et cetera. So, with these new screens, they're fantastic. They're interactive. So, we've got a number of blind shots around the golf course. So, safety is very important. You can see the carts on that GPS unit. You can click exactly where they are, find the distance, know that they're 200 yards out or 250 yards out or 300 yards out, and I can hit or I can't hit. So, big safety feature for us, which is fantastic on there. But, the best thing of all is that bar right along the bottom. The members can't miss it. When it's green, they know they're doing what they're supposed to. When it's purple, they're very aware of, that means I am behind, I'm slowing groups down. And then, kind of as I mentioned earlier, when it's orange, they know that the group in front of them is playing slow and they're doing the best they can. And they know when we come around the course to speed up that slow group that, hey, we've been waiting. And by the time I get to them, they're already prepared to hit the gas and keep pushing that group ahead and try and get back onto pace. So, having that right there on the bottom, making sure that we educated the members on what that means, it becomes very self-sufficient. A lot of times, as I mentioned earlier, when we see groups 5 or 6 minutes behind in purple, they know that they're behind, and we don't even have to touch Tagmarshal and send a message many times because they're very aware of what's already happening. So it's a great feature for us, and they look really sharp sitting there in the middle of the cart as well. It looks high end. It looks like the value is really there. So when the members wonder what we're spending money on, it's an added benefit to them, and they're committed to it now. They expect it.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and it's great that the Skittles logic continues on the screen, right? And the players get to see that, and you've created such a strong culture around it. Everyone seems to be buying in, and they're, for the most part, self-managing. Obviously, you're up in the mountains, and you're on top of a peak. Lightning is a challenge. How do you use the system to keep your players safe?
Yeah, that's huge for us. Basically, from June through August, we are dealing with afternoon scattered thunderstorms constantly. So if anybody on this call is familiar with Colorado weather, they know what I'm talking about. And where we sit up here at 6,700 feet, we are at a very high lightning risk. So we've got an automated lightning detection system that reads the atmosphere, knows when we're in danger, and then gives us a bunch of different readings that we're able to look at and kind of be able to then give expected delays to these members. So, when we send out the weather alerts, it's great. If it's going to be a 15 to 20 minute, maybe 30-minute light shower, maybe a little bit of lightning, we can, message all the members, screen pops up right there, and then we can tell them, hey, go ahead and take cover. It's going to be a short delay. Or, we get a lot of days where out of nowhere and it happens fast, in 15, 20 minutes where it goes from dark skies to hailing here really quickly. So, when we can see that on our lightning detection system and the radar that it provides, we can send a message out very quickly and say, hey, head back to the clubhouse. It's not going to be good. Like, provide a full warning. And then, in addition to that, when they are on the golf course, we can constantly provide updates so that we don't have people calling in the golf shop every 3 minutes asking when it's going to be all clear. It's, they know, just sit tight, hang tight, keep an eye on your GPS unit, and we'll keep you updated on what's going on out on the golf course. So we're constantly using that all summer. It's very important for us to be able to send that out too, because the worst thing that can happen during the weather delay is have a handful of groups that continue play, and then by the time that you get back out with an all clear, you've got log jams all over the place because everybody's out of position on the course. So we don't allow people to play through. Tagmarshal, we can be monitoring the map at the same time that we're sending these messages and watching to see if groups continue to play, and take action from there. But it's a great feature for us.
And I know that you have quite a bit of elevation, but not many of your players are careless enough to roll your golf carts. That is a bit of a challenge over at Keystone on the other side. And Jack, I believe that you've been up there with Phil and the team, and they have set up these slowdown warnings. I don't know if you're familiar with those, and but it seems like that is also another thing that, obviously, depending on the terrain that your golf course is running at, that's comes in quite useful. Have you seen clubs put that into action, Jack?
Yeah. So what the team at Keystone and the River Course do, in addition to the physical, they have small speed bumps going down their steep inclines, as well as bright signage. But on the screens, they use our geofence technology to also alert players when they're entering these steep grades to avoid injuries and damage to carts. I've also seen during the summer, as we get closer to fall in Colorado, the sun starts to go down pretty early. And the team at Foothills, they use the advertisement module. And at 7 p.m. every day, they have a scheduled advertisement to be pushed to every single location on the course, prompting players that, it's now twilight hours. Please finish your hole and return your cart to the clubhouse. So that has automated their process and provided a solution there as well. So those are two different ways that courses in Colorado are using our system to communicate to their players.
Yeah, very good. And I know they're doing a lot of rounds, and it would be difficult to scratch those people off the golf course that just want to do one more hole, right? And now they're losing light, and the staff wants to go home. Like, I hear the need for automation here. Back to Cade. I know that obviously you mentioned your superintendents are rock stars, and they obviously want their turf respected. How's the geofence system working for you, and the players compliant?
Yeah, sure. So, the majority of the geofences that we have built are surrounding the green complexes. We've got a rule here at the club that we don't allow carts within 15 yards of the green. And more than anything, that's a safety feature for us. If you've ever played out here, and as we're talking about the undulations and everything around the courses, we kind of maneuver around the cliff here. We've got a lot of steep areas around the greens, places that if golf carts go, they could be stuck, they could roll, they could really put the members and their guests in a dangerous location. So, we obviously don't want carts rolling right up next to the greens, but for the most part, it's a safety feature. In addition to that, we get all these afternoon rainstorms. Some of them bring no rain and lightning. Some of them bring 1.5 to 2 inches of rain in a short amount of time. And, that changes things for us in a hurry. And, if we're able to get the golf course back open that day or the next day, many times it's cart path only. So we have geofences built for cart path only, to keep people honest around the course. And as we set up our geofences, you've got some different settings where you can, control the alert level in which the member gets or whoever's driving the cart. And we do high alert on everything. And what that does is it starts beeping at them. And it's, it's for their protection. It's for the safety of the golf course. It's for everything. But it's quite annoying. So, our members are a little bit more reluctant to try to break those rules. They know that we're tracking them. We get notifications anytime that the geofence is breached. We can see the cart. We can see exactly where it went. So, our members are very compliant. They don't want to hear the beeping. They understand that we do things for a certain reason. And then, at the same regard, it's really easy to fix the geofences or change the geofences too. So, a couple of years ago, we had a group of older doctors here at the club, and they needed to get closer to the greens in certain areas. So, I actually drove around the golf course with them, spent time, and we talked about some of the areas in which we could make geofence adjustments that, maybe it was within 15 yards of the green, but it wasn't going to impact anything. And it helped them get to the green and get back to their cart easier. So the simplicity of adjusting them and making tweaks when you need to is great. And then, our membership's been exceptional at following it.
That's fantastic to hear. And because obviously we have made the decision that we don't want to dead stop the golf carts because it is, the players perceive it as patronizing and they don't really like it, and they have to try and figure their way back into the unrestricted zone. And very often that turns into pace of play challenges because it takes a while. And also sometimes you need to be able to get home quickly. Like you said, when there's lightning warning, make a beeline for the clubhouse, or there's a medical emergency and we wouldn't want to stop anyone's cart in their tracks, and now they're actually unsafe. So it's great to hear that the visual and the audible alert that our just system generates really does the trick for you. Okay, let's jump ahead. You've already mentioned some of the automation and efficiency creators that the system allows you to implement, but obviously we're here to streamline processes and save you time as much as possible. One of the things to look at is, and Jack mentioned this earlier, especially with the T-sheet integration, this is quite powerful, that every single round has what we call a track map, which is like a history of the round. And everything that happened, every geofence breach, every timestamp, every pace status at any point gets recorded, and also interactions that the team may have had. Cade, talk a little bit to how you use this and what are some of the challenges that this helps you solve?
Yeah, so I'm constantly checking just this. I like to go every day. I'm kind of just a pace of play nerd. I love knowing what's going on. I take enjoyment in watching fast pace. So just about every day I come in the mornings, and the first thing I pull up is just this. I look at the rounds for the day, and I'll see purple rounds or orange rounds. I hope not to, but I typically will. And I'll dive into them. I'll click on them. I'll see who is in the group, and then look at just this. And we're strict on pace of play here because we all feel it's so important. The club feels that that's as I mentioned earlier, our number one pressure point here, and that kind of influences everything else that happens here at the club. So we're strict on that. We've got some pace of play guidelines that we send out a warning system. So we've actually got 3 different levels of punishment, I guess you could call it. It's the first one being a warning as you play slow. So anytime a group is over 15 minutes behind pace, they receive a letter from the golf committee. As I said, first one's a warning. Second one comes with some restricted playing privileges. The third one comes with more restricted playing privileges, along with a meeting with the member relations and golf committee to kind of try to understand what's going on. Why can't we play faster? Why can't we keep things moving? But the best thing about this is that all the information I need and everything that they need to see is right here in front of them. There's no hearsay. There's no disputes as far as I was waiting the whole day, it wasn't us, we weren't the slow group. This shows everything right there with the color coordination of the dots, I could see that, hey, we were playing fast for the first 5 holes and then we hit a wall and we became the delayer, or, you were waiting for the first 3 or 4 holes and then that group in front of you took off and started playing faster and now you would become the problem. So I basically can take a screenshot of this. I do the communication from the golf committee, so it's actually me sending the letter, but I take a screenshot of this, give them a little understanding of what happened out there. Here's what happened from my perspective. If you've got any questions, let me know, but this is, your first warning. We hope that, as an exceptional member, it won't happen again, but it really just helps justify everything that we're doing here. And like I said, leaves nothing to the unknown or hearsay or word of mouth. It's all the information is justified right in front of them. It shows them exactly what happened through the round, and it shows me as well.
Great. Data doesn't have emotions, right? It's just fact, and it's levels the conversation. And Jack, I know that you've seen quite a few use cases and also maybe some curious cases that were resolved with the track map.
Yeah, there's a course that had reported there was some damage on their on one of their carts. So what I did was I pulled a round report from the day prior, and we looked at every round. That cart had gone out 3 different times, so they weren't making it easy on themselves by sending that cart out more than once. But we went through and looked at the track maps and identified that on the 15th hole, there was a big loop around. It looks like they took about 2 to 3 loops in one location, whether they were looking for their ball or driving donuts on the golf course, who knows. But at the location where they're returning, there was a retaining wall, a brick wall, and they found scuff marks on the wall that were in line with the damage location of the damage on the cart. So what we did, they didn't have an integration with their tee sheet provider, but knowing the tee time that we can see at the top left, we can still see when the rounds started. So they were able to go back into their own point of sale and locate the group and take that up with them. So that was a pretty unique case, but it was really cool to see how the track map really identified where damage could have gone on the cart.
And very often it's educational, right? Because you only need to tell a player once that, hey, did you or did you not get close to the green? And say they should know, are you sure? Because our system may have some information that says otherwise. And then next time, hopefully they're more compliant. Let's quickly jump into, and you both mentioned that obviously over time, the system generates player profiles. Here's an example. Cade, again, you mentioned that you're very strict on this, and you obviously every now and then need to have conversations. How is it useful to have sort of this depth of data to look back at?
Yeah, once again, like you mentioned, statistics don't have emotions. So there's so much hearsay. I think any of the pros that are on this call could probably relate, but we all have 4 or 5 slow players at our clubs that refuse to believe that they are the issue. They'll find every excuse in the book to blame somebody else or to do anything they can to not be the slow player. But I've had the situation, and we've had a couple of culprits in recent times that maybe they aren't doing enough to warrant those slow pace of play letters in all their rounds. So we're really not punishing them for anything, but they continue to be an issue for us. So, I can take this information and I can have a conversation with, Mr. Smith and say, hey, Mr. Smith, do you have some time to sit down? I'd love to talk to you about something. Try to make it a friendly conversation and not, accuse him of anything, but just show him what's happening and show him, whether that's just the percentages of whether he's delaying and on pace or, those, or really break it down into certain rounds that he's played and say, look here, it seems like every time that you bring guests out, you guys run 5 to 10 minutes behind. What can I do to help you? What do you feel like's happening out there? Is there too much conversation? Is there, photos being taken on every hole? Let me understand what's going on to try to help you. So, I have run in that situation a couple of times. We like to run this information just to solidify what we're seeing and what we're believing is happening out there with certain players. But no, we use this information as educational for the membership as much as anything, and try to help them help us and help everybody else.
Yeah, that's great. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier is that your members are obviously quite in tune, but where they can self-manage with that pace bar down here, but you also obviously have the ability to send out messages, and you don't necessarily need to go out and stage an intervention. One of the things that we haven't actually picked up on, but you mentioned that, or you didn't say that you have any rangers or marshals out, right? So am I right in saying that you manage things with your assistants from the pro shop as you need?
We do, yeah. Everything's managed by the golf professional staff here. So, I mentioned the merchandise buyer's in tune with this, but she's not going out on the course and doing that. So it falls on myself and then the 4 assistants that I've got working with me.
Okay, that's
yeah.
That's great, because for us, obviously, it's okay. So how can we add efficiencies to you, and if there's an opportunity to save labor or redeploy labor to sort of high value services around the course, then obviously that's a good strategy to take. Looking at the data backend, so this is our analytics hub, and it's really, I would say, like one of the primary reasons why golf courses choose to work with us is because we have a very easy to use interface on the live map, but also really look to provide the best possible underpin from a data point of view, including weather integration, including hole by hole run times and breakdowns of tee box wait times, on fairway, on green. Like, we really want to understand as much as possible. Also, how does it correlate to pin placements and things like that? But every single day has its own pace graph, and then you can look into a day. Like, if I was to click at this now, which I can't do, I can then see how did this day run, and I'd see the same for each and every tee time of the day. And that's what Cade mentioned earlier. If there's a group that's out and the color is delayed, then he wants to know what happened, why did we catch that? And down here you have a breakdown of the pace and this is a 2-month period at Castle Pines, where your target goal time is 4:18, and you're bringing this at your busiest part of the season. You're bringing all these players through in 4 or 5 42 seconds, so that the players must really be grateful for the consistency that you're providing. But one of the things that we're seeing down here is that the percentage of groups on pace or within 10 minutes is almost 90%. So it's really smooth, a smooth experience by the looks of it. When and how do you use this information, and from a reporting point of view, for team management or maybe with your committee? Tell us a bit about that.
Sure. Jack and I, we jump on a couple of calls a season, and we compile a bunch of information, all that you're showing here, as well as countless other information. And we really, my team we understand what's going on with my team, but it's important for the membership to know, especially when you get feedback from members where how come it seemed like my last 3 rounds were so slow, or et cetera, et cetera. And what we do is, we just provide them a bunch of information. There's not really any recommendations being made from this, but it helps them better understand, helps them, tell their friends, to help them better understand, et cetera, et cetera. But we give them all kinds of information. Our goal time here is 4 hours and 18 minutes. That's 4 hours and 15 minutes to play the golf course, 3 more minutes to get up the hill from 18 green. And as you can see here, our average for the year was 4 hours and 6 minutes. So, it's really, it's nice for them to see this information, to understand, especially when I show them yearly trends. When we started with Tagmarshal as to, and then have gotten to where we are now, we've continued to get faster and faster pace of play year after year. So, just seeing the improvement that the membership's making, being able to, digest all that, understand, okay, these are, our slower days of the week. These are the faster days of the week. If I need to get around in quickly, I can look at, this and say, okay, if I play before 10 o'clock, then, I'm going to play in 3.5 hours, or, there's so much information here. It's just really good for them to digest, to understand, and then be able to spread that to the rest of the membership. Because I can't present this to everybody. I can't answer a million questions, but I can give them enough information to help, answer those questions for me.
That's great. And just to point out also that you had almost 3,300 system interactions in the period, right? So it really looks like your team is dialing into the system 30, 40 times a day, and leave alone the players interacting. That must be literally thousands of interactions, and also obviously hours that they're interacting with the system. So it's really great to see how deep you're dialing into this. Maybe just 2 data points to point out. One is the breakdown of the time of day versus your run time. So you're starting your day playing at 3:31 average, and then 3:51, that's your 7 to 8 o'clock. So that's already a pretty fast start. And then obviously later in the day, it picks up again. So not every course is like this. Some courses have a quicker period just around lunchtime, and then things slow down again, like it's almost like a camel double hump. So it really depends, and we really want to understand the trends and the patterns of each course, so we can appropriately advise on best management strategies. And to the point that you made earlier, Cade, is that Thursday being your big ladies' day, that is your fastest day in the week, right? 3:59, under 4 hours. And I hope you tell them often. And obviously your busy days seem to be Tuesday and Sunday. And you also, I believe, know why the Tuesday is one of the slower days. Obviously digging into it, have an understanding. Jack, just very briefly from your side, I know that you're obviously very proud of the performance that Castle Pines, but also many of the other partners that you work with are achieving in terms of our benchmarking, where we're looking at data of over 500 golf courses now, we're benchmarking performance. What is your sense on somebody achieving a Diamond Partner Award in terms of the effort that they put in, and what would that look like for their members and guests in terms of excellence? Do you think we're on the money here with regards to what it is that a course like that is actually producing from a product point of view?
Yeah, I would say the Country Club at Castle Pines is a model course that is a Diamond partner. Not everybody does everything 100% right, but Castle Pines is 99.9% of the way there. I mentioned it to Bodo, but Cade and his team, they don't mess around. They use the system every day. He's said that numerous times on today's webinar, that not only do they just look at the map, but they go into every nook and cranny, and are always striving to improve day in and day out, beyond year to year. They're looking for even a 1% minimum improvement every day, which we all know can exponentially improve over time. One thing I would like to mention on the top right is the group status wheel. Just a small sliver of their groups for the entire season were considered those purple Skittles, the delayer groups. And they actually had an impact on just over a quarter of the play. So understanding from Cade's perspective that 1 out of 4 times, a player, whether they're a member or members bringing guests, come out to Castle Pines, they'll be held up at least at some point during their round. So being able to identify that and understand that and be able to make improvements throughout the season is what makes Castle Pines a consistent Diamond winner.
Yeah, I think you're making a very important point. It's only a few groups that can impact so many others, and this is a golf course that's achieving exceptional results, and still we see that trend, right? So if things were unmanaged, what we very often see is that the delayer portion actually grows to maybe 10-15%, but the impacted groups is then 60%, right? And obviously that has a major impact on return play, on the value perception, on the time spent out on the golf course. If my round takes 30 minutes longer, that's time I don't have to spend in the food and beverage and the grill afterwards. Like Cade said at the very beginning, the quicker we get the people through, the happier they come off, the more time they spend with us, the more revenue we're driving. So it all goes hand in hand. Just to close off, and I need to keep us on pace here. We had such great conversation. We're now 1 minute out of position, 1 minute slow. But I just want to wrap it up if you guys don't mind. So there's one opportunity, obviously, if we're tracking where do these cards go, where don't they go, where do they spend time, is to dial in the superintendents to inform with what we call this heat map, other opportunities to protect our turf better, to update our geofencing, to update our signage, but also other opportunities for savings. And that's especially important anyone southwest of Colorado in the Colorado River Basin, right, where you have courses that are now obliged to reduce their water consumption. So if we can look at that, where do players don't go, where players don't go, are there opportunities to save on irrigation, labor, hours, and maintenance? Or can we deduce data here that helps us make renovation decisions, right? So this is really powerful. And then one of the things that I'm really excited about us rolling out with our partners at Easy Locator for next season, Cade, is our straight integration from Easy Locator, which obviously helps your superintendent to place really smart pin locations, and taking that straight into our front end from a pin location point of view, so that the players can then see this is exactly where the pin's at without there being any additional efforts or printouts of the pin location. That would save you a few hours a week and probably quite a bit of trees and paper once we've got this going. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, we print over 100 pieces of paper a day and spend time chopping and spend time putting them into golf carts. Yeah, I mean, we really look forward to this. This is a huge upgrade for us and a time saver, and you know, to have everything in one location and not to be going back between a piece of paper and the monitor and back and forth all in one location. We really look forward to this.
Yeah, and the next thing we're looking forward to is that Easy Locator is obviously quite smart with understanding the difficulty of a pin location, but then we can also see what's the impact been on our day and the runtime hole by hole, right? And then you can make better educated decisions depending on the weather, depending on the play volume you have in terms of which pin locations to select. And again, you can never know enough about your business, and you can never have enough data to look into. I think we have probably answered this question, and as much as I'd love to spend another 15 minutes, we really want to be respectful of everyone's time. Thank you very much. I don't know if there's any questions that have popped up. Our Ranger here is Natalie, who heads up our marketing team. We obviously Atlanta-based business. We Joey Walters, our GM, and David Hamilton's our VP of Business Development. If you have any questions around our system or our service, feel free to reach out, and you get to work with good people like Jack, who help you get the most out of your program. We're here to help, and we're here to obviously also drive return of investment and savings. We would never partner with somebody just so they have a system. We really want to have the buy-in so we can generate ROI, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Cade, thank you so much for your time. Do you have any parting thoughts? And also, do you get some time off now that winter is finally catching up and your last round is probably about to be played?
Thanks, Boda. It's always a pleasure to be on here with you guys. I appreciate all you do.
When is your last round? Is it this week or
last round? Well, golf course is closed officially Thursday. Course is closed today with snow coverage, but we got 50 degrees. We'll see if we get enough snow melt to get those 20 diehards out on the course tomorrow.
Okay, and then we're hoping you get a well-deserved break, and we hope to see you down at the PGA show. We'll certainly be there. Jack, thank you so much for your input. It's been fun to have you, and also great to see how many good relationships you've built in around Colorado. Okay, thanks guys. Really great session.
Thanks, Bodo. Thanks again, Cade.